The person who loves you deeply often ignores you more than anyone else, and this strange behavior usually comes from two powerful inner reasons. Love is not always spoken through sweet sentences or constant reassurance. Love does not always show itself as non-stop attention or visible affection. Sometimes love feels like quiet distance. Sometimes it feels like deliberate silence. Sometimes the person who cares the most is the one who pulls away, who looks uninterested, who seems far away exactly when you need them near, and you are left sitting with questions that loop endlessly in your mind. Do they even love me? Why do they ignore me like this? If they truly care, why do they feel so cold? If I matter, why do they act as if I am invisible? The truth is complicated, but it is not heartless. When someone ignores you while still loving you intensely, it almost always comes down to two hidden fears that quietly control human behavior. These fears are rarely spoken aloud, but they shape actions more than words ever could. To understand this, you have to look beneath the surface. First, there is the fear of losing themselves in you. Love has a way of taking over the mind and body. When someone falls deeply, their emotions stop belonging only to them. Their happiness becomes tied to your tone. Their calm depends on your presence. Their entire day rises or collapses based on how connected they feel to you. That level of emotional attachment can feel overwhelming. Picture standing under a strong waterfall. At first, it feels exciting, refreshing, alive. But if you remain there too long, the pressure becomes suffocating. Love can feel exactly like that to someone who is not prepared to be fully consumed by it. So instead of leaning in, they retreat. They create space. They ignore messages. They delay responses, not because their feelings are weak, but because their feelings are too strong. Psychologists describe this as the fear of engulfment. It appears when love feels so intense that a person worries they will disappear inside it. They fear losing their individuality. They fear becoming emotionally dependent. They fear that if they give everything, they will no longer recognize themselves without you. Ignoring becomes their shield. Silence becomes their armor. They may see your message immediately and still wait hours before replying. They may avoid conversations they desperately want to have, not because you are unimportant, but because you are too important. Their distance is not rejection, it is protection. The second reason is the fear of eventual loss. When someone loves deeply, they also feel deeply afraid. Loving you means risking pain. Loving you means opening a door that could one day close. Some people respond to that fear by pulling away early. They believe that if they stay distant, it will hurt less later. They convince themselves that ignoring you will soften the impact if things end. This creates confusing behavior where affection exists internally but is hidden externally. They may watch you quietly, care silently, worry constantly, and still appear indifferent. Their heart is involved, but their actions are restrained. This internal conflict creates mixed signals: warmth followed by coldness, presence followed by disappearance. It is not manipulation. It is fear. Fear of attachment, fear of heartbreak, fear of losing control. So when someone who loves you ignores you, do not immediately assume you are unloved. Often it means the opposite. It means your presence affects them more than they are ready to handle. It means their emotions are louder than their courage. And while this does not excuse the pain it causes you, it explains the silence that feels so heavy. They avoid deep eye contact with you in public, keeping their gaze soft and distant as if looking too long might expose everything they are trying to hide. Yet the moment you turn away, they find themselves stealing glances, as though your presence pulls at them without permission. They keep conversations brief, measured, almost guarded. But when you are gone, every sentence you spoke replays in their mind like an echo that refuses to fade. It feels as if they are constantly reminding themselves, step back, stay controlled, do not get too close, do not lose yourself in this feeling. And still, every step they take away from you is heavy with desire. Every message they leave unanswered is secretly reread and treasured. Every stretch of silence is crowded with thoughts of you. Ignoring you becomes their way of breathing, because the love presses so hard on their chest that facing it directly feels unbearable. There is fear tangled inside that love, fear that if they lean in too far, everything they care about could disappear. Sometimes people ignore you not to protect themselves, but because they believe they are protecting you. This comes from a deep fear of abandonment, the fear of losing the one person they cannot imagine life without. When someone truly loves you, their insecurities do not fade, they grow louder. Their thoughts become filled with quiet questions they never ask out loud. What if I am not enough? What if one day they realize they deserve better? What if I love them more than they love me? These thoughts slowly erode their confidence and push them into distance. They ignore you, not because they do not want you, but because they want you so intensely that it scares them. They convince themselves that staying close will expose their flaws, that if they reveal their vulnerability, you will see weakness instead of devotion. They fear that if they show how deep their feelings really go, you might pull away first. So they retreat into silence, hiding behind a cold exterior that feels safer than honesty. They appear distant, while inside their heart is burning with emotion. The psychology behind this behavior is often tied to attachment anxiety. People who carry this fear believe love is fragile, temporary, and easily lost. Past experiences have taught them that closeness can disappear without warning. Instead of risking that kind of pain again, they pretend to be detached. They act as if they do not care, hoping this will shield them from disappointment. But inside they are anything but detached. Their mind is constantly working, obsessing over small details, overthinking every word you said, replaying every laugh, worrying about every pause in your voice. Ignoring you becomes their twisted way of holding on. They tell themselves that distance is safer than honesty. They think that if they stay distant, maybe they will not scare you away. If they appear strong and unaffected, maybe you will not see how terrified they are of losing you. Love, however, cannot be hidden forever. No matter how carefully they try to control their actions, their eyes betray them, their body betrays them, their soul betrays them. There is a constant push and pull inside them, a struggle between wanting to run toward you and wanting to run away. Have you noticed how the people who ignore you the most often show sudden bursts of warmth? One day they are silent and unreachable. The next day they are overflowing with affection and attention. One moment they avoid your gaze as if it is dangerous, and the next moment they cannot stop staring, as though memorizing your face. This inconsistency is not manipulation, it is confusion. It is the result of a heart that does not know how to feel safe while loving someone deeply. They live in a constant state of contradiction. They crave closeness, yet fear it at the same time. When they are near you, they feel alive and exposed. When they pull away, they feel empty and restless. Even in their silence, you occupy their thoughts. They imagine conversations they never had the courage to start. They wonder how it would feel to be honest, to say what they really feel without fear. But then doubt returns, whispering that honesty could cost them everything. So they remain trapped between desire and fear, connection and distance. If you ever find yourself confused by someone who seems warm one moment and distant the next, understand that their silence is not indifference. Often it is the loudest sign of inner conflict. It is the sound of someone loving deeply while being afraid of their own feelings. They are not ignoring you because you do not matter. They are ignoring you because you matter more than they know how to handle, and they have not yet learned that real love requires courage more than control. This inconsistency is not confusion, and it is not carelessness. It is love suspended between two powerful fears. One is the fear of losing themselves inside you, of dissolving their identity, their boundaries, and their sense of control. The other is the fear of losing you entirely, of waking up one day to your absence and realizing they waited too long. They move back and forth between these emotional edges, pulled closer by desire and connection, then pushed away by fear and self-protection. Their behavior looks inconsistent, but internally it follows a painful logic. When you notice they are ignoring you, it does not always come from a lack of feeling. Silence can mean boredom, anger, or indifference, but when ignoring is rooted in love, it carries a different weight, a different emotional texture that feels charged rather than empty. You can sense it even if nothing is said. There are subtle signs that reveal the truth beneath the silence. Their energy changes when you enter a space they are in. Even if they do not greet you or look directly at you, you can feel their awareness shift, like a quiet tightening of attention. They avoid direct interaction, yet they observe everything. They may not speak, but they notice what you are wearing, how your mood feels, whether you seem tired or distant, and they remember details you never said out loud. Their ignoring is restless, not calm. There is tension in their posture, distraction in their movements, and unease in their silence. Indifference is relaxed, but this kind of distance feels strained and unresolved. After time passes, they often circle back. Following periods of withdrawal, they find small, almost accidental reasons to reconnect, a brief message, a question, or a casual remark that opens the door again. Their eyes reveal what their words refuse to admit. A person can control their speech, but the eyes still betray longing, fear, and tenderness. When you meet their gaze, there is something unhidden there. So what should you do when someone ignores you because they care too much? The instinct is to chase, to demand clarity, to ask why they are pulling away and what you did wrong. But pressure often amplifies their fear and pushes them further into retreat. Instead, choose patience, offer space without creating emotional distance. Stay consistent in how you show up so they learn that love is not a trap and connection is not a threat. Be gentle, because behind their silence is vulnerability they do not know how to express. Reassurance is what breaks the cycle. Let them feel that loving you will not erase who they are and that being open will not cost them your presence. Show them that love can be safe, love can be steady, and love can feel like home rather than danger. Over time, this sense of safety becomes more powerful than fear, but it requires emotional maturity from both sides. For the person who pulls away, learning to stay present means confronting discomfort instead of escaping it. For the person being ignored, learning to remain grounded means not internalizing silence as rejection. This balance is delicate, because loving someone who oscillates between closeness and distance can quietly drain your emotional reserves if you are not careful. That is why awareness matters. When you understand that this behavior is driven by fear rather than lack of care, you gain clarity, but clarity should never come at the expense of your own well-being. People who ignore out of love often struggle with emotional regulation. Their feelings arrive intensely, sometimes all at once, and instead of flowing outward through communication, those feelings turn inward. Silence becomes a way to slow things down, to regain a sense of control when emotions feel overwhelming. Unfortunately, this coping mechanism creates confusion for the person on the receiving end. You may feel shut out, dismissed, or uncertain about where you stand, even while sensing that the connection itself is still alive beneath the surface. This internal conflict can make them hyper-aware of you while pretending not to care. They may replay conversations in their mind, analyze your tone, and wonder what you are thinking, all while maintaining a quiet exterior. Ignoring you is not peace for them. It is tension they carry privately. They are often exhausted by their own restraint, by the constant effort of holding back what they feel and managing the fear of losing control. This is why their silence feels heavy instead of neutral. There is emotion trapped inside it. You might notice that they are most distant right after moments of closeness. Intimacy triggers fear because it increases the stakes. The closer they feel to you, the more they risk losing themselves or losing you. Pulling away becomes a way to rebalance their emotions, even though it creates distance they do not truly want. This push and pull can repeat until something shifts, either through growth, reassurance, or eventual emotional exhaustion. Your role in this dynamic is not to fix their fear, but to decide how you want to engage with it. You can offer compassion without abandoning your needs. You can remain kind without becoming invisible. Healthy patience does not mean waiting indefinitely or accepting inconsistency without communication. It means responding thoughtfully instead of reactively. It means choosing groundedness over anxiety and self-respect over emotional chasing. Sometimes, the most powerful response is calm presence, not explaining yourself excessively, not withdrawing to punish them, simply remaining emotionally available while maintaining your own boundaries. This allows them to experience something unfamiliar, a connection that does not demand performance, control, or perfection. Over time, this experience can soften their defenses, but only if they are willing to grow. It is also important to recognize that not every connection is meant to endure this lesson. Love alone does not guarantee readiness. Someone can feel deeply and still be unable to show up consistently. Understanding their fear does not obligate you to stay if the dynamic becomes painful or limiting. You are allowed to want reciprocity. You are allowed to want clarity. You are allowed to choose relationships where communication flows more freely. When love is filtered through fear, it becomes complicated, quiet, and contradictory. But fear does not erase sincerity. It simply distorts expression. For those who ignore because they care too much, silence is often the only language they know how to use when emotions feel too big. They are not absent emotionally, they are hiding emotionally. And hiding is not the same as not feeling. If you find yourself in this situation, trust what you feel, but also trust your worth. You do not need to prove yourself to earn presence. You do not need to shrink to make someone stay. Love that grows healthier over time will eventually move toward openness, not further into silence. Whether that growth happens with you or elsewhere depends on both people, not just the depth of feeling. In its rawest form, love exposes fears we did not know we had. It reveals old wounds, unresolved patterns, and emotional limits. Some people respond by leaning in, others respond by pulling away. Neither response means the love is false. It means the person is human, navigating vulnerability with the tools they have. But love that remains unspoken, unexpressed, and hidden behind walls cannot fully thrive. What matters most is remembering that you are not responsible for someone else's fear, but you are responsible for how you honor yourself within the connection. When someone truly loves you, even their silence is filled with emotion, but love becomes sustainable only when silence is eventually replaced by courage. It is love shaking quietly behind a wall built from fear and hope intertwined. And this trembling, this quiet shaking creates ripples that extend far beyond the two of you. It colors your days with a tinge of uncertainty, turns ordinary moments into potential clues, and teaches you a new, exhausting form of perception. You become an expert in the archaeology of their behavior, digging through layers of silence to find the artifacts of care you know must be buried there, a saved photo, a memory they referenced weeks later, an almost imperceptible softening in their expression when you walk into a room. This dynamic exists in a suspended state, a perpetual almost. You are almost together, almost honest, almost safe. The space between you is charged with everything unfulfilled, every conversation not had, every touch withheld. It becomes a third entity in the relationship, this gap, filled with phantom limbs of connection that ache to reach across. You may find yourself mourning the loss of something you never fully had, the easy flowing exchange of a secure bond. The grief is for the potential, for the version of them that could be, and for the version of yourself that feels perpetually off balance, caught between giving space and yearning for presence. Their internal battle between the desire to merge and the instinct to flee mirrors a fundamental human paradox, the yearning for belonging and the terror of annihilation that can accompany it. In their mind, love is not just an emotion, it is a country with two possible borders. One border leads to a paradise of union, but they fear that crossing it means surrendering their passport, their map, their very name. The other border leads back to the lonely, familiar desert of self-reliance, where the air is thin but safe, and no one can wound them because no one is close enough to hold the knife. They spend their days pacing between these two borders, unable to decide which form of starvation is worse, the starvation of the self in connection or the starvation of the heart in isolation. For you, this creates a specific form of loneliness. It is the loneliness of being seen but not claimed, of being felt but not anchored. You witness their struggle, you sense the depth of their emotion, yet you are prohibited from offering the very solace that might calm the storm. Your compassion becomes a bystander, watching someone you care for drown in shallow water, refusing the hand you extend because they are convinced they must learn to swim in this panic alone, or because they fear your hand might pull them under deeper. The psychological concept of protest behavior is useful here. When they ignore you, it is often a primitive protest against their own vulnerability, against the terrifying dependency love creates. It is a preemptive strike against a pain they are certain is coming, yet in doing so they often incite the very response they dread. Your confusion may turn to frustration, your patience to withdrawal, your secure base into an uncertain ground. They then point to this shift as evidence that their fears were correct all along. See, they are pulling away too. It was never safe. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy of exquisite pain. Navigating this requires a level of emotional translation. You must learn to interpret their dialect of avoidance. Their "I'm busy" might mean, "I am overwhelmed by how much I miss you." Their "I need space" might mean, "I am scared of how much space you occupy in my mind." This is not your job, but it becomes a survival skill within the dynamic. The danger lies in becoming so fluent in their language of fear that you forget how to speak your own native tongue of needs and expectations. So, what is the way forward beyond understanding and patience? It moves into the realm of conscious co-creation. It requires a deliberate joint decision to change the dance. This begins with a moment of clarity, often precipitated by a crisis of exhaustion. The ignoring has lasted too long, the silence has become too deafening, the ache has grown too heavy. The breakthrough, when it comes, rarely arrives as a grand declaration. It arrives in a whisper. A moment of eye contact that doesn't break. A text that says, "This is hard for me." A shared silence that feels companionable instead of charged. It is the courage to replace the meta-commentary, "Why are you like this?" with the vulnerable statement, "When you disappear, I feel alone and I worry I've done something wrong. My intention is only to love you, not to overwhelm you." Your steadfastness becomes the laboratory where they can experiment with a new hypothesis. that love can be a sanctuary, not a prison, that closeness can mean expansion, not erosion, that their beautiful, complex self is not only safe with you, but celebrated. You prove this not by words alone, but by the quality of your presence, by being a shoreline that does not fear the tide, knowing it will always recede, but trusting in its constant return. Your consistency becomes the gentle counter-rhythm to their push and pull, a steady beat that eventually invites them to find their sink. Yet, you must also tend to the garden of your own soul with fierce devotion. This path is not for the faint of heart. It asks you to find your center and root it so deeply that their atmospheric pressure changes do not uproot you. Your well-being cannot be held hostage to their fear. This means cultivating a rich inner life, maintaining supportive friendships, and engaging in passions that remind you of your own vitality separate from the relationship. You must become your own secure base first. From that place of inner fullness, you can offer open hands without feeling emptied, and you can discern when their retreat is a call for patience and when it is a sign of an incapacity to show up that you can no longer afford to wait for. In the final analysis, the silence of deep, fearful love is a plea wrapped in a paradox. It is the heart's simultaneous cry of, "Come here," and "Stay away." To respond is to hold both truths at once without being torn apart. It is to acknowledge the reality of their fear while honoring the validity of your need for connection. You learn that the strongest love sometimes does not shout to bridge the distance. It learns to speak softly across it, building a bridge word by careful word, look by trusting look, until the silence is no longer a wall, but the peaceful space between two people who are finally courageously at home in each other's presence. The journey from ignoring to integrating is the journey from fear to faith, faith in the other, and ultimately faith in love's gentle, transformative power to heal the very wounds it exposes. In the end, the reason someone who loves you deeply may ignore you repeatedly comes back to those two fears, losing themselves in you and losing you altogether. Both fears are born from love, not indifference. Both silences are expressions of inner conflict, not rejection. Deep love is frightening because it exposes everything we try to protect. It makes people run even as they want to stay, and it makes people fall quiet even as they ache to speak. Remember this: when someone truly loves you, even their silence carries your name, even their distance is a form of closeness, and even their ignoring is not absence. It is love shaking quietly behind a wall, built from fear and hope intertwined. If you found value in this message, remember to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel and help this message reach others who need it. Thank you for being here and for your continued support.